Just one quick thing before we get into the first half of the podcast this week. I had my wife and my son on, and I wanted to apologize for any audio issues that I had to deal with or that, I didn't fix in time. So I just wanted to apologize in advance because there might be moments where it might sound a little fucking shitty and then sometimes where it might sound pretty great. But like I said, just here to apologize in advance. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And once again, I apologize in advance, but enjoy.
You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. This is episode 47, and today I have my wife and child with me. Say hello, baby.
Hi.
Not that little shy hi. Keisha tried to say hello.
Say hi.
Perfect. So I brought her on to basically just introduce her to you guys and ask her about her little experiences with MMA so far, because I don't think she knew what the fuck it was until she met me.
No.
No?
No. I knew what UFC was, but never watched it.
Yeah.
Didn't know the rules. Yeah.
No panicking. I know you want to be a part of this conversation, Keisha.
He's so silly.
He's such a funny boy.
Here.
Okay, so anyway, what was the first pay-per-view you watched? Was it the McGregor-Poirier 3 one?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember if we watched when I first came down.
Yeah.
Or we were meant to, and I don't think I ended up actually watching it.
I had to work early the next morning.
Right, so I ended up going back home.
I went to bed. You watched it.
No, that was not that one.
Not that one?
It was the one where first time I ever came down, I think, or the second time I came down. It was like May.
Oh,
I think that was the Chandler Oliveira one, yeah.
I still had to work super, super early when I was doing those 5 a.m. shifts.
Yeah, so I think I just went home the next day after that. I didn't end up watching I think I ended up watching the pay-per-view, but you and I never ended up watching it. Yeah, her first one was the McGregor-Poirier one, and what did you think of that?
It was fucking good. I didn't like when his leg broke.
Got to speak a little louder.
I'm sorry.
I know, but you gotta speak, it's just the whole mic thing, you gotta speak a little louder.
His leg breaking mid-lunge, I think he was lunging into
No, he was backing up.
Oh, but you could see the leg break. It was a good fight. I'll give you that much. That was a good fight, but his leg breaking, no.
Do you remember the whole card at all, other than just the main event, or?
Only the main, because Buddy broke his leg.
And Connor? Yeah. Well, no, okay. You always keep bringing up Chris Mutino. The green-haired guy.
The kid, yeah, the kid that ate all those fucking punches.
The one that Sean O'Malley beat the living shit out of.
Oh my god, that was really cool too. That kid was just taking it.
Yeah. What was the other pay-per-view you watched? What was the second one ever you watched with me?
Were we here?
Was it when we moved here?
Oh, I can't remember.
I just remember one of
he was watching it.
Right. I think that was the
It was his...
Was that the Return to Monkey card, or was that the one before it?
Monkey. Ook.
Was it the monkey one? Where
yeah.
Poor Tony Ferguson gets fucking front kicked and just looks like a monkey mid kick. That's every time I bring that up. That's what she knows it as. It's just the card where Buddy became monkey.
Instead of going forward in evolution, he went backwards.
He went backwards for a moment. Yeah. but yeah. What'd you think of that card? I don't think you watched the whole main event with me. You were more so focusing on this little dude over here who's just blowing raspberries.
We were in bed, so I was trying to get him to go to sleep, and I was trying to go to sleep.
And here I am standing at the edge of the bed, fucking hyped as fuck.
It was a month after I just had him, so I was still pretty tired. My nights were all thrown off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kid here just blowing fucking raspberries like a madman. What'd you think of it though? What'd you think of the whole experience, so far? What do you think of the sport? Because you're more of a hockey girl.
I am a hockey girl. Hockey season for me, for sure.
Like you're.
I'm excited to go to the card that we're going to see here in the city, if that says anything.
Yeah, I think I'm slowly turning you into an MMA fan.
But I will always be hockey. My hockey is your MMA.
Basically, like, she has seen me get so hyped over. Yes, buddy, you're a part of the conversation. She has seen me get so hyped over MMA and shit. But then, like, during playoffs, I saw a whole different side of her. Like, it was like me with my fights, just her with hockey. Are you talking to them too, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my hair. You don't need that.
But yeah, you're actually excited about the card.
I am.
You're actually excited about the card.
I am. Yeah.
What? Okay.
I don't know anyone.
What would you say if I was gonna be doing a vlog potentially, just for that event?
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right?
I have the camera for it, basically. Our fucking cell phones have some of the greatest cameras now, apparently.
Yeah, the newer iPhones are decent.
But yeah, now that we know what you think of MMA and how I literally got you into it, I basically just threw you into the wolves. Just like, yeah, here, watch Connor and fucking Dustin. Oh, God, Connor just broke his leg.
Oh, what was the one where Buddy hit just above the eyebrow and there was just so much blood on the canvas, I thought I was gonna gag.
I can't remember. That was probably a fight night or something. But
oh my God.
There was one that happened recently where it looked like Buddy it was a gash right between his, like the bridge of his nose and his eyebrow.
Oh.
And it was like wide open.
That's
It was so gross.
That's the only thing with MMA. Like, blood doesn't bug me, but that was so much blood. Like, I thought my, childbirth was crazy. But seeing two men wrestle in blood, that's just a different level of gross.
And the worst part is, when somebody is wrestling you, it just makes it so much harder to get.
Because you're all covered in fluid.
Yeah, when you're trying to get somebody to submit, it's so much harder because you can just slip out so easy because you're covered in blood and just.
I'll save that dirty joke for later.
Yeah, shut your mouth. But now that we know all that and what you think of the sport, introduce yourself. What are your interests? How did we meet?
Oh my God, you didn't tell him how we met?
No, I don't think I did. I don't think I did.
Oh, good old Facebook dating.
Yeah, believe it or not, Facebook dating.
It was literally a last resort for me.
And a last resort for me.
It was something I didn't check, and then I'm like, yo, this guy actually looks a little cute. Maybe he actually has a decent personality, and we talked, but because I didn't have notifications set for Facebook, I had to keep checking it myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was the same way. I had to keep checking it myself, and I just never check it. Like, I just never check it at all.
It got to the point where you're like, here's my Snapchat, just fucking add
me. I was
me.
just like, let's talk on here, because I actually check my Snapchat fucking daily. So...
And that's how it went from there. There was a few bumps in the road from after that,
but
it worked out. The kinks came out.
Now we're married.
Yeah.
Married with a fucking little duder who's just trying to steal the show, but he's just...
Sleepy.
Oh, yeah, he's just going through the works. But, no, yeah, everything worked out in the end. It was happy. Our wedding day, what do you, like...
We should have vlogged our portions of it.
Honestly, yeah, no, I didn't even think of it. The whole week, I was more focused on just preparing for the wedding and just making sure everything went smoothly.
Like, bless your mother. Let me tell you, bless both our mothers. Bless your parents for hosting the actual ceremony. And then your mom for doing everything
she did. Yeah,
like getting us the hall. This man's mom is amazing.
Yeah, no, my mom is an absolute gem. She's... Oh, God, the day that she passes, I am going to be... distraught.
To pretty much sum it up, my mother did more, and my father did more so of the baby shower here, and then because we had their wedding out of the city, his mother took care of everything else. And oh my God, I feel so bad. She was so stressed, but bless that woman's heart.
Oh my God, like I said, my mother is just an absolute gem. Like, I swear to God, I don't think anything would have went as smoothly without her.
Oh no, I probably would have lost my shit on so many people.
And I was so worried about the day of. Like, I was so worried about the day of the wedding, and everything went so fucking smoothly for the most part.
Well, yeah, there was a few kinks, but you can't control their people.
Well, yeah, no, you can't control people. Obviously me with the fucking rings.
Everyone says your brother tightened my ring intentionally.
I think he did. I think he did, genuinely. I think he tightened it and made me look like an ass, but...
Because my ring...
My ring was easy. Yeah, I was gonna say, my ring seemed easy as fuck. I tied the rings on.
And yours, like, I tied it on tight enough, like, I asked Maddie to pull on them.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get them. So I knew they were good. So I think your brother mucked with them.
Yeah, he probably did. Knowing my brother, because he's a little troll, he probably fucking did. But such is the game of the best man being an asshole, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised my sister threw some good shade at me.
Oh yeah, she did.
Your parents and brother were giving you all the love and a funny story.
I was gonna say,
my side of the family threw all the shade at me.
I was gonna say, Darren told the greatest story of all time. He made me falling off of a fucking drive shed sound cool. Like, it was just me falling off of a fucking drive shed, but he made that sound like the greatest story of all time ever told.
And then there's my family. She's been to the hospital way too many times.
Oh, yeah. But honestly, though, like, your pregnancy was so fucking bad. Like, you were in and out of the fucking hospital constantly.
Yeah.
It sucked. It sucked. It was just in and out, in and out. Like, every fucking week, at least once or twice a week, we were in the hospital getting her fluids because she couldn't keep anything down. It was violent, man. But it all worked out in the end because little man's sitting right here. We're married, happy as fuck. I hope these are coming through clear. Like, I hope these little, like, raspberries he's doing are coming through clear on the microphone.
Or, like, little like, background noises you can kind of hear.
Yeah. I hope these... Yeah?
Is the ceiling funny?
He's discovering the ceiling. No, he's such a sweetheart. I love him. I love my boy.
Can be a pain in the fucking ass.
Oh, yeah. Absolute menace at times, but sweetheart.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just... Tell a little bit more about yourself. You're basically like me, aren't you?
Yeah, but taller.
Yeah, she's taller than me by like 6 inches. But yeah, no, she's basically like me in every way. Absolute fucking nerd.
With
retarded as shit when it comes to humor. Like me.
Different interests with like hobbies and whatnot. You're more of the sit-down PC. I like the console gaming, but I can't sit in front of a screen, so I'm more of like your grandma or someone's mom doing
She's crafty, to put it that way. She's crafty while I'm more technologically creative.
So if the power went out, I could survive.
Yeah, I couldn't. Well, no, a good book.
A good book, but how long would that book last?
Until I finish it, and then I'd go fucking crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But yeah, that's my wife and my kid that I didn't expect to be a part of this. But I'm pleasantly surprised that he's a part of this. You gonna say anything? You're just gonna stare.
Yeah, before you knock it over.
Yeah, before you bump into the fucking thing and knock it over. You're just gonna stare in awe? Are you just gonna stare in awe, or are you gonna say something, bud?
Yes, that is your leg.
Yeah, that's your leg. Okay, well, anyway, that's it for this segment. We'll get into the fights in a bit, but first, a message from my sponsor, Dubby. Before we get into the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about my new sponsor, Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a powdered energy drink that is actually a clean energy drink that's made to give you a focus with no crash or jitters or any angst that the other energy drinks on the market give you. They're also made with no maltodextrin fillers. They don't use any artificial dyes or any coloring, anything like that. And on top of that, Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, nootropics, and caffeine that keeps you going. And on top of that, it's gluten-free. So if you're worried about your gluten intake, it's okay. These guys got you covered. And if you're worried about it coming out of a facility that's not FDA approved or FDA inspected, these guys, they're doing it legit. Their product's made in an FDA inspected facility and their product is FDA approved. So if you want to try any of these awesome flavors, because let's be honest, I'm about to tell you this, their flavors are all unique. You're not going to find a flavor anywhere else, only here at Dubby. So if you want to try 3 of their awesome new flavors, in a starter pack with your own mixer cup, go on their website, pick the starter pack. It's $14.99. If you want to get 10% off of it, use Dillo's Dojo at checkout. That's DILLOS at checkout for 10% off. Once again, I want to thank Dubby for sponsoring the podcast. Anyway, enjoy your Dubby drink if you manage to use my code. Let's get back to the fights, folks. All right, so before we get into the fights, I just want to acknowledge a fight card, or at least before we get into the UFC fights, I want to acknowledge a fight card because it took place and it had actually somebody that was Twitter's very own in the main event, and some awesome shit ensued. But not only that, on the card, we also had 3 Ultimate Fighter members. 3 women who currently, or not currently, but recently were on the most recent season of The Ultimate Fighter, season 30. And 2 of them are actually up against each other. So, I wanted to talk about that card real quick. And then we're going to talk about the main event of that. Then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of everything. The UFC results. We'll get into all the fights, all the great shit that ensues. Yes, we're back. But first, Invicta FC 49. Before we get into the other fights, the main event, just as is, people, the shit that they were saying leading into this main event. So the main event was Jessica Del Boni, Invicta FC's current atomweight champion, which I believe is like 105 pounds, 110 is the limit or something like that, against Jillian DeCourcy, who is 5-3 going into this. She's just come off of a win in her Invicta debut where she knocked a woman out. And it was awesome. I have to say that. It was pretty fucking awesome. However, the things that a lot of fans were saying leading into this bout was very disappointing. Just a lot of, even though Jillian is kind of somebody who is well loved, well adored around the Twitter community, the things that people were saying about it just kind of was upsetting. And we'll get into that in a bit. But some of the things that they were saying were like Jessica Del Boni needs better opponents. Jessica Del Boni needs to be signed to the UFC. She needs to gain a little bit of weight so she can be signed because these opponents aren't cutting it for her. Just stuff like that. Completely counting the other half of the main event out. It was really upsetting. But before all that, we had Helen Peralta go up against former UFC fighter Poliana Botelho. And man, Helen Peralta showed she's got that dog in her, but Poliana Botelho was just one step ahead every moment of this fight. It was a very close fight, but it was clear going into the judges' scorecards that it was clearly Poliana Botelho's fight, 29-28. Even in, I think, one sense, it was 30-27. But it was very clear from the get-go when it got to the judges' scorecards that Helen Peralta was not the winner. And she was completely outmatched, completely outplayed from the get-go. She did good against the cage, standing up, but ultimately, just Poliana Botelho was just better than her, obviously. The next fight after that was the other Ultimate Fighter fight. So just before that, Helen Peralta, obviously Ultimate Fighter contestant. Like I said, before I get into the other Ultimate Fighter fight, I just want to explain who Helen Peralta was. Like I said, she's an Ultimate Fighter contestant of this season's Ultimate Fighter that just happened. She caused a lot of problems in the house, talked a lot of shit. Not bad shit, but talked a lot of shit to hype her fight up when she was like one of the first fights of the house. Got eliminated in the first round, and because usually losers can stay around the house until near the end, she basically just kind of paraded around the house and got drunk during the fucking like downtime in the house, and then would show up to like training and sparring and shit like that drunk. So just very much a chaotic figure, causing a lot of problems for herself, mostly in the house. But that brings us to the next fight, which was between 2 contestants, Caitlin Neal and Hannah Guy. Caitlin Neal kind of sparked a little bit of controversy and just kind of pissed quite a few people off coming into after the Ultimate Fighter because of her comments towards Juliana Miller. So she got absolutely mollywopped by Juliana Miller. And just the stuff she was saying after being beat by Juliana Miller, it was just completely discounting her. Not saying that Juliana Miller was the better woman at all. Literally saying that I could have beaten her. I should have beaten her. I'm so fucking disappointed in myself. I know I can beat her. I'm way better than her. Just very much not accepting that Juliana Miller is the better fighter and that she's got holes in her game. So it was very surprising. Anyway, going up against fellow contestant Hannah Guy, who is actually very well known in the MMA community as the woman who gave Valerie Lortan, almost said Latorno. That's my bad. Valerie Loreda's first loss and only loss, because if you guys didn't know, earlier this year, Valerie Loreda kind of retired from MMA for the time being. She's now in the WWE, which is kind of weird to me. But Hannah Guy was the first and only woman to beat Valerie Loreda, which is awesome to me. Completely handed it to her and showed that this is a game of mixed martial arts, not just kickboxing and dancing. And I loved every bit of it. Unfortunately, though, Hannah Guy couldn't get past the Caitlin Neal problem. Caitlin Neal seemed to have improved since her fight against Juliana Miller and just completely mopped the floor from Hannah Guy. Hannah Guy did put up a good fight, but from start to finish, from round 1 to round 3, it was Caitlin Neal's fight the entire time. So, just an easy, unanimous decision for Caitlin Neal. Actually, I'm excited to see both women in Invicta more because, like I said, Hannah Guy put up an incredible performance despite being down every round. And Caitlin Neal clearly fixed some holes in her plan and in her game. So I'm actually excited to see them up against other women, not each other. So that's going to be cool. Now, we're going to talk about the main event. The main event of Invicta FC. Like I said, there was a lot of people talking a lot of shit about Jillian DeCourcy and Jessica Del Boni, the main event, saying Del Boni doesn't deserve to be here. She should be in the UFC. That Jillian DeCourcy doesn't deserve to be in the title picture at all. That Del Boni needs better opponents, like I said earlier. Just very much counting Jillian DeCourcy out. And did it look fucking amazing on those people? Because Jillian DeCourcy, with 11 seconds left in the very first round, snaps in a rear naked choke and forces the current champion to tap. 6-3 now, and your new Invicta FC and atomweight champion. I'm baffled. I'm still baffled. I woke up the next morning absolutely excited and hyped for her. I'm still baffled about it. It was a complete upset. So many people counted her out. She completely defied the odds. She earned that fucking belt, man. She's 38 years old, too. But just hitting her stride, which is surprising because, like I said, on average, the prime of a person is around 32 years old. But she's almost in her 40s, and she is hitting her stride. She just completely upset a young Jessica Del Boni, too. So, holy fuck. But it was an amazing fight. Very back and forth. Jillian DeCourcy, though, with the grappling, sinking in that rear naked choke quickly, with 11 seconds left on the clock in the first round, forces the champion to tap. She is your new Invicta FC atomweight champion. My God, it's still unreal to even say. But, nonetheless, that was the card I wanted to talk about, mainly because I wanted to congratulate Jillian DeCourcy for winning the atomweight championship. She is an absolute doll, and she is probably the most beloved figure on MMA Twitter. When it comes to non-UFC fighters, she's incredibly beloved by a lot of people in the community. And oh my God, it was an incredible moment for everybody when she won the title. So honestly, congratulations to her. Very well deserved. I can't wait to see her defend it, honestly. But anyway, let's move on to the reason why you guys are actually here. The UFC fight night that happened this weekend. Let's jump into these fights. We're going to start off with the prelims this time. I know, very surprising, but let's get into it. Alrighty, let's start off with the first fight of the night, in general. A bantamweight clash between 42-year-old Guido Canetti and young gun Randy Costa. Randy Costa, I don't believe we've seen him since his loss to Adrian Yanez. Maybe he had another loss, I can't remember. But if you guys don't remember, they had quite the fun little rivalry there. It wasn't really beef, but it was more of like a Dr. Pepper versus Reese's type thing, or M&M, or whatever. I think it's Reese's, honestly. Just kind of junk food versus junk food. It was funny. And Randy Costa falling to Adrian Yanez's just powerful strikes. Randy Costa getting another chance against 42-year-old Guido Canetti. Some would say this was a gimme fight. A lot of people were thinking that they were handing Guido Canetti to him on a silver platter. Well, just like our last little bit here with Jillian DeCourcy, Guido Canetti saw those comments, didn't take them very lightly, and in fact sat in his chair, looked at the camera and said, in fact, I took that personally, and decided, nah, this young gun's going to come in swinging. I'm going to fucking tap him out. And that's exactly what Guido Canetti did. 1:04 into the first round. Causes Randy Costa to trip, takes his back, sinks in a choke without even the hooks is the most impressive part. Just the absolute, the dad squeeze, the dad power. Squeezing and forcing Randy Costa to tap. He moves to 10-7 and just really makes people question Randy Costa's ability from now on. But if that wasn't enough, if you didn't get your bloodlust, we had another fight, a women's catchweight between Julia Stolarienko and Chelsea Chandler. And from the beginning bell, it was only 1 round 2, but from the beginning bell, Chelsea Chandler just swinging and banging, landing bomb after bomb, taking it to the ground, and once it got to the ground, it wasn't just grappling and submissions. It was Chelsea Chandler throwing down fucking bombs. Bombs! Landing over and over and over again, mixing it up with just bombs of punches and bombs of elbows, and eventually forcing the ref to step in and save Stolarienko. It was a beautiful finish, and it very much fed everyone's bloodlust because, holy fuck, this card was on fire. Next up, we had a middleweight clash between Krzysztof Jotko and Brendan Allen. And apparently, there was a little bit of a beef going on here. I guess they were calling each other out. At one point, they were scheduled to fight. Brendan Allen said that Krzysztof Jotko had been ducking him, ignoring his DMs, just stuff like that. So they finally square off. Brendan Allen making quick work of Jotko, sinking in a rear naked choke near the end of the first round, and forcing Jotko to tap. Now, you'd think the bloodlust would stop, right? It's a fight night. They really need to kind of tone it down. Nah, it didn't stop. We had a lightweight bout next between Joaquim Silva and London, Ontario's very own Jesse Ronson. My God, both guys just back and forth, hurting each other, throwing bombs, landing bombs. Joaquim Silva, though, there was one little strike that kept landing that was kind of just churning the tides of the fight for Joaquim Silva. It was a knee down the middle that kept landing. It landed at least twice in the fight. First time it landed, it dropped Jesse Ronson, almost forcing a finish in the first round. Second round comes, same thing. They're throwing, boom, back and forth, banging. They're in the middle of the octagon, though, and right again, Joaquim Silva with the knee up the middle knocks Jesse Ronson down. This time really hurts him, and you can tell, and finishes up with violent punches to force the TKO stoppage. But really, it probably should have been a knockout stoppage. It was a beautiful knee up the middle that just dropped Jesse Ronson violently. But that's it for the bloodlust, just for one fight. We had a fight between heavyweights. Ilir Latifi, Mr. Man-Fridge, Mr. No-Neck, up against the Bow Constrictor, the man who has over 70 fights, more than that, in fact, almost 90 fights to his name, and 60 wins, Alexei Oleinik. And honestly, very back and forth fight, but Alexei Oleinik always has been a very much one-trick pony, very much just a singular grappler, and Ilir Latifi played the smart game, kept it on the feet for the most part, and just outworked Alexei Oleinik to a decision, and ended up getting the unanimous decision at the very end. That being said, we're heading on to the headlining bout. So, let's get into this headlining bout for the prelims. John Castaneda versus Daniel Santos. My lord. So this next fight was John Castaneda, Daniel Santos. Holy fuck. These two dudes, man. Swinging back and forth. But it was ultimately Daniel Santos getting the better of the exchanges. Landing more at will. Hurting John Castaneda. It was clear by the second round, John Castaneda was fucking tired, bro. Just absolutely exhausted. The damage was wearing on him. Daniel Santos up against the cage, though, lands a beautiful knee that just kind of flops him over, forces the ref to step in after just landing a series of punches and just strikes in general that were just really chipping away at Castaneda. It was a beautiful finish by Daniel Santos and really just a perfect way to fucking cap off the prelims, a violent way to cap off the prelims. The knees down the middle that just completely flopped over John Castaneda to the finish. Just absolutely brutal. Loved it. Loved every second of it, man. This is why I love this fucking sport. But we're not done. Like, can't believe it. We still have the main card to cover. We have a whole, I believe, 5 fights to cover. And that brings us to the first fight of the main card. That's right. Mike Davis versus Vyacheslav Borchev. And I was very wrong on my verdict picks. I went, I believe, 4 out of 5 on my verdict picks. My other verdict picks were fine. This one was the one I got wrong. Mike Davis came in with something to prove. Just completely dominated Borchev from the absolute get-go. It was just an absolute clinic Mike Davis put on. Borchev tried. Like, you could clearly tell. Borchev was trying, but fuck me, man. Mike Davis just came in to go, man. He was ready to go and just showed it. Unanimous decision, very clear on the judges' scorecards. Borchev had nothing for Mike Davis, man. It was an absolute great showing by Mike Davis. And if you want to talk about great showings, this next fight between one of my favorite featherweights, Sadiq Yusuff, just, my fucking lord. Don Shainis stepping in on short notice, saving the Sadiq Yusuff fight. But still, Sadiq Yusuff, the both guys just swinging wildly, getting into a close exchange. 30 seconds into the fight. 30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds into the fight. Sadiq Yusuff sinks this front choke, completely pulls guard, but doesn't bring Buddy to the ground and just hangs. He sunk it. Like, he sunk this front choke deep and just hung, bro. Forced him to tap. It was so quick. Happened so fast. Incredible showing by Sadiq Yusuff. Like, picture perfect. The exact thing you would want to do. Perfect night at the office, man. You come in, you get your show and win money, 30 seconds or less. Incredible. And if that wasn't enough for incredible fights, we had a bantamweight bout between my favorite bantamweight of all time, Ione Barcelos. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Barcelos reminds me a lot of WEC Aldo, man. I love it. I love him. And this night was no different from the start to the end, man. First round, he was really showing his striking prowess. Trevin Jones was landing some pretty hard shots, but Ione Barcelos, man, with the leg kicks, the shots to the body, landing some clean shots, and just doing good on the counter punches as well, wanted to mix it up after a little bit and started mixing up his wrestling and really kind of stuck to that. Trevin Jones had no answer for Ione Barcelos, but he fought hard, did an incredible job fighting hard, I gotta say. And Ione Barcelos ended up scoring himself a unanimous decision win. Very well deserved. An incredible fight by both guys, too. I loved every bit of it, but my God, man, it was great. And speaking of great fights, we had a co-main event. Randy Brown versus Francisco Trinaldo. On paper, this fight looked incredible. And honestly, actually playing out in the octagon there, looked fucking incredible as well. Back and forth, Francisco Trinaldo showing that old men will never go out of style, completely showing the young man Randy Brown how to do it in some rounds. It was a very close fight. I believe 29-28 on judges' scorecards. It was just a back and forth fight between both guys. Randy Brown giving Francisco some trouble. Francisco giving Randy some trouble. Just back and forth fight between both guys. Just incredible fight. There was a reason why they were the co-main event, and they really showed last night why they're the co-main event. But we're here for the strawweights. The main event of the evening, obviously. Mackenzie Dern versus Yan Xiaonan. And I'm going to just say this now. It ended via unanimous decision, and the winner is Yan Xiaonan. This ended in some controversy, I guess, last night, with quite a few people not happy about the decision. And I'm going to explain why the decision is fine. A lot of people are very upset that it wasn't a draw. I'm going to explain why it wasn't a draw. So, no matter what, no matter which way you see it, you watch the fight over and over and over again, Yan won 3 rounds to 2, right? But a lot of people are trying to use the excuse of, well, both of the rounds that Mackenzie Dern won were 10-8 rounds. So that should bring Yan Xiaonan's, score on the scorecards down enough where it's a draw. Now, the 2 rounds that they're trying to argue that are damage rounds, I believe, are rounds 2 and 4. Round 2, she had Yan Xiaonan on the ground, her arm completely torqued behind her, but not in a submission, just in more of a vulnerable position where she had no arm to defend. So if Mackenzie Dern really wanted to land punches, unanswered ones, she could have, but she didn't. She tried to, and the punches she was landing looked like they were just pitter-patter punches. Yan Xiaonan had no issue getting out of the way of them and eventually got her arm free after a while of it being just torqued behind her. So, honestly, maybe that round could have been arguably a 10-8, but the next round that they were trying to argue a 10-8 was round 4. No, maybe it was rounds 2 and 5. Round 5. And honestly, I don't see it. I don't see it. All she did was she stayed on top of Yan Xiaonan and landed little pitter-patter punches. None of the punches were hard enough to show that Yan Xiaonan was in trouble. Didn't even damage or mark up her face. Just didn't warrant a 10-8. So, by that regard, it'd still be one round of 10-8, the other one a 10-9. Yan Xiaonan still wins 3 rounds to 2. Just, it could have possibly been a draw, but I don't see how. Like I said, arguably, the 5th round was obviously a 10-9. Very much wasn't a 10-8. But the reason why it wasn't a draw was because of that second round. It was arguably a 10-8. And clearly the judges didn't see it that way, because clearly Yan Xiaonan was not in any trouble of the fight being finished, other than her arm being torqued the way it was. So, do with that what you will. But the people that are upset and calling this a robbery, it's not a robbery. It was an incredibly close fight, very back and forth fight between both ladies, but not a robbery. Just a very close fight that could have went either way, but unfortunately 3 rounds to 2 went to Yan Xiaonan, and I mean that unfortunately for Dern fans, because really, they're the only ones that are actually upset about this. People who simp for Mackenzie Dern. Anyway, I just wanted to explain my piece because I know a lot of people are very upset about the result. A lot of people were saying that the result was a robbery, but if you look at the verdict scorecards and the judges' scorecards, they both align, funnily enough. They both align to the point where Yan Xiaonan wins every fucking time. Crazy how that is. Anyway, that's it for this event. Next week, we have Grasso versus Araujo. Honestly, to talk about that event, there really isn't much to talk about. The big one I really want to talk about is the week after that, which is October 22nd, and that is UFC 280. Like I said, the podcast is going to be bumping that weekend because I have UFC 280 early in the day on Saturday, and then later that night, Saturday, we have Prospect Fighting Championship 14's card, which is the showdown in the downtown charity card. I'm excited for that. So not only do I get a fucking cracking pay-per-view early in the day, but then I get to go see my own live fight event later that night. It's just going to be awesome. So that'll be the podcast I'm really excited for. But next weekend we have Alexa Grasso versus Viviane Araujo. And honestly, that's a pretty decent flyweight event. Viviane Araujo always brings it. Very technical fighter. Alexa Grasso, always exciting. Very technical as well. So honestly, those two fighters, very well matched. Can't wait for that main event. Honestly, I just don't give a fuck too much other than just covering that event. I'm really excited for UFC 280. That's the big one. That is the big one I'm excited for. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the first half with my wife. I really enjoyed recording it as much as she did, so I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Anyway, I will see you guys next week in next week's episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful work week in the time being, and I hope you guys just have a wonderful week in general. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, guys.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.